Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. It's the Aardvark accessibility issue fixing live stream. That was a mouthful. All right, yes. I'm Natalie. I'm co-founder of Aardvark. We are a company that we provide a platform that you can use for accessibility testing and keeping track of accessibility audits and issues and the remediation process. And we are here today to fix some accessibility issues on our marketing website. So I do a live stream every other week going through different accessibility tasks. And we've been working on the website for a few weeks now. Even if I don't work on the website on the live stream, I still work on the website every week, fixing different issues. So accessibility is a journey, and there's no such thing as a perfectly accessible site. So all we do is keep trying to find barriers and remove them where we find them. And that process never ends until the website isn't online any longer. So we're going to pick up today where we left off last time. And I think we'll probably do something different for the stream next time because this is our third or fourth time in a row, I think, working on these accessibility issues. So maybe we'll try out something different next time. But anyway, I hope that you are having lovely weather wherever you are. I know that it's very cold and even snowy in some areas. I'm in Los Angeles, so it's not snowy. It is cold for us here, though. It is only 60 degrees. I know, I'm such a baby, but it is sunny and we have a blue sky, so I can't complain too much. And it's kind of nice to have cooler weather sometimes and have a good excuse for having a yummy hot chocolate or something. All right. So I have to show you some things around what I discovered after the last stream. And also we'll talk about some of the things that we fixed last time. So most of our time that we spent last week was actually working in our help center. So if you go to any guide in our help center and scroll all the way to the bottom, we do have, I picked a really long guide. Okay. We do have a voting at the bottom of, we have a voting at the bottom of each guide where people can let us know if this guide was helpful or not, right? So that we know when we have maybe some inaccurate information or some outdated information, or maybe just some information that's not as helpful as it could be. And we discovered in a couple of streams ago that this form was completely inaccessible for screen reader users and for keyboard only users. So we have fixed that problem now. And I went ahead and made the radio buttons visible. They were kind of hidden before and you just clicked on one of the faces, but I went ahead and just made those visible. And one of the things that I had looked at wanting to do last time was to make sure that that set of radio buttons was correctly wrapped in a field set with a legend. And the good news is that I noticed some hints, like as I was kind of inspecting the code, if we open up the console here, and let me zoom in on this a little bit to make it a little bit bigger. But I had noticed, like, kind of as I was inspecting some of the code, that there was some hints that this was like legacy markup for the gravity form. So I was actually able to go in and turn that off. It was just a toggle to say, do you want to use legacy markup or not? And I guess it was just if you had an older form that had been around from before the new code got released, it was on automatically. So I was able to turn that off. The form still looks the same, except I automatically got a field set with legend wrapped around my radio buttons. So that's great news. So that's obviously something that Gravity Forms has addressed in their plugin itself. That if you put a set of radio buttons on a page, they're going to get a field set with a legend and it's all marked up correctly. So I didn't have to do any extra work to get that other than adjust a toggle. So then as I was going in last time after the stream and taking a look in, here's our Aardvark platform where we're keeping track of all of the issues that we have. I noticed that we weren't scanning enough pages. So you can see here's a scan from even 6 days ago where it was scanning 213 pages, and here it was scanning 214 pages. And I realized, like, oh no, we've added a whole bunch of new pages to the website. So I went in and added all the new pages, and now we're scanning 290 pages. so, so we added about 80 new pages to our site since the last time we updated, what pages were being scanned in Aardvark. And so we found a whole bunch of new issues. Here I thought I was making really great progress, and no. So you can see it found 4 new issues, and those are just the main issues, a bunch of instances of those issues. So you can actually see here that at one point we got down to 21. We're now back up to 22 total issues on the site. And if we look at the instances, it's even more sad. I had a nice downward trend here, and then I added all those extra pages. So we've got a lot of work to do, but well, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So we're just going to dive in and start fixing. We'll start with the most. I see we've got 2 critical issues, so we'll start with those and work our way down, and hopefully we can get back to where we have only the warnings that we need to double check. So let's pop over to our issues page here and take a look. And I see the first issue is that we have an image that is the content of a link, but it is missing alt text. So let's talk about that for a second. So when we have images on our page, we generally have 3 types of images that we can have on a page. So we have an informational image that's providing some kind of information for people, right? If it's an e-commerce site, it's showing them what the product looks like. Maybe it's a diagram of some kind, or it's showing what a room looks like, or a park, or whatever. So some kind of information is being shared by that image. Then we have a decorative image, which is just there for decoration. It's not really providing any information, right? It's little curly cues up in the corner of the website, or fancy little design flourishes that are in different sections of the page, things like that. Like, those are strictly decorative. They aren't serving any kind of purpose beyond that. And for those images, you want them to have an alt attribute on them, but it should be empty. It should be set to nothing. So alt equals just quote, nothing inside the alt field. For the informational images, of course, your alt text should describe, why is this image on the page? What information is this image conveying that somebody would be missing if they can't see the image for whatever reason? Then we have the third kind of image, which is a functional image. And these are things like icons, or like featured blog post images, for example, that serve as a link to go somewhere on the site. And the functional images always need alt text, even when we think like, no, that's just a decorative image. It's just there to make the page look pretty. No, if it's linking off somewhere, then it's a functional image, and it absolutely needs alternative text. So it looks like what we have here, and we'll scroll down and take a look, is we have an article called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Actually, I think that's a podcast episode. And we've got a big image here that looks like it's linking us off to our WCAG in plain English article, but it doesn't have any kind of alt text on it. So we're going to go ahead and fix that. And I'm going to go ahead and just fix that on the live site. So let's head over to this. Yeah, it's a podcast episode. And here's the image in question. So it does have a caption underneath the image. So, but the problem is like browsers don't do great at handling those. So even if we take a look here, I'm going to bet, because WordPress does this reasonably well, I'm going to bet that this is a figure with a, yeah, it's a figure with a fake caption. But browsers still aren't doing like a really great job at associating that caption with the image, unfortunately. Now, what I have seen people do is put an ID on the fig caption and use an ARIA labeled by attribute on the image to explicitly, like you would think having fig caption inside a figure would do it, but to make that connection between the caption and the image even more explicit, right? By putting those ARIA attribute or putting that ARIA labeled attribute on the image. So I think what I'm going to do in this case, because we do want this image to link, is I'm probably just going to take off this caption because I don't want it to be there twice. And I'm going to make it alt text for this image. And I just realized I'm not logged in. So let me go ahead and get logged in on here. And while I do that, I see I've got a question in the chat that I can answer. So let me take a look. Would role presentation be appropriate for a decorative image? Yes, that is an option. If you can't add an empty alt attribute, you can add a role of presentation. You can also add a role of none on them as well. That'll work to make sure that it's that it gets ignored basically by assistive technology. I audited a website at one point that the developers just really misunderstood how to use alt text, and it was a design that had tons of little design flourishes all throughout the design, right? It was like a really over-the-top kind of design. And they had written out extensive alt text on every single one of these decorative images that described, oh, it's 3 curly cues, 1 curling to the left and 2 curling to the right, and they're green. And it's just like, wow, no, that's not how this should be done. Please don't do that. They're just decorative images, and they're just getting in the way. That's just annoying people to no end to have to listen to these, these extensive, like paragraphs long, detailed descriptions of just these little decorative flourishes that were throughout the website. So don't make that mistake. Okay, so WCAG 3.1.5 reading level guidelines summary card. So I just removed it from the caption. I'm adding it as alt text on the image, and that will solve our problem. There should be a way in WordPress to add the ARIA labeled by attribute and connect it to the fig caption, but exactly how to do that isn't immediately obvious. And ideally that would just happen automatically since the fig captions aren't fully supported the way we might hope. And I hope that changes. I hope that browsers and screen readers get better support for fig caption, because that's the whole reason that those elements exist, is so that you can provide an accessible caption for an image. So it's a little frustrating that those aren't supported the way that you might hope. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mark that one as fixed because we've added alt text to that image, and that one is fixed. So we solve that. And let's go back to our issues list and see what's next. Okay, we have an anchor element with a valid href attribute, but no link content. So basically an A tag with nothing inside of it. So let's take a look at what's going on there, because that seems a little bit odd. Let's see what we can figure out. So it looks like this is from one of our newsletter, actually just our newsletter from last month. And what do we have going on? It's a little bit hard to tell from the screenshot. So I'm going to just copy this snippet to the clipboard and open this in a new tab, and we'll go take a look at what's going on. Not sure exactly what it is. So we'll go to the console, we'll clear out what's here, paste this in, and here we go. Do we have, I think we just have an extra link tag in there. That's not doing anything. So I think we should be able to edit that. And so it's under what we've been up to. So I think we should be able to just edit this and remove that. We might have to view the, I'm going to close the console there. We might have to view the, well, let's see what we've been up to. Okay, let's go to the HTML view. Edit as HTML. Okay. Hey, it's an invite to the live stream. Oh, not the one we're on right now, though. That would be too good. I think I'm on the wrong one. I think I need this first one. Oops, where am I? What's happening? Hold on. Okay, let's edit visually. I think I needed this one. It looked like it was in this one. Okay, found our blog post. Oh, goodness, what is this link? That is so weird. Yeah, there's just an empty link hanging out in there, not doing anything. Okay. And it's a very weird looking one too. Probably from copying pasting. The content looks like maybe out of our email platform because we send that newsletter out by email as well. Okay, so, well, that's gone. So that was easy to do. So I'll save that and we'll come back over here and mark that as fixed. And resolve this issue. That was the only instance. I just remembered last time, yeah, we're on the live site. Last time we had realized a problem with our videos. So kind of a twofold problem. So I'll talk about what happened. So we're using a WordPress plugin called Perf Matters that was essentially replacing all of our, embed YouTube videos with a static image. And then it was putting what looked like a little play button on top of the image. And that when you clicked that, it would actually load in the video, right? To make the page load faster and be more performant. However, what we discovered in the last live stream was that that little button, what looked like a little button, was actually a div with just a, on-click handler attached to it. And I did reach out to the plugin developer to let them know about that problem. And they said, thank you so much for telling us. We will get that fixed in our next release. So I haven't checked to see if there's been a new release yet. It's been only about a week since I did that. So if they had a release out already, it'd be pretty surprising. But I'll double check before the next stream because I would imagine they'd get a release out by then. And they said that it would be fixed. So that's wonderful. But then I said there's layers to this. So then the other issue, of course, that we had is that we were using the native YouTube player, which doesn't have the best accessibility on it. And I remembered, like, oh my gosh, why are we using that when we have Able Player, the Able Player plugin that Joe Dolson has taken over recently? We have that installed on the site. Why are we using these embeds? So I went through the site and replaced all of the YouTube players with the Able Players. So now everything should be in pretty good shape. All of the videos on the site should be using the Able Player instead of the YouTube embed. And I think that our video players should be much more accessible now. So that's another thing that came out of the last live stream. All right, so here we've got a very high issue. A link points to an anchor name booking within the document, but no anchor exists. Oh no. So that's terrible. So, we're doing like a skip to type section, and the section that we're trying to skip to doesn't exist. So let's take a look at what's happening there. So we have a book your consultation on our snapshot accessibility audits. And that should have a booking section. Let's see, maybe we just misspelled it or something. Let's take a look. And of course, this page should be taken down because this special is no longer. But let's see. Let's figure out which one it is. It's in a blue, one snapshot at a time. Yeah, there's our booking section. So it's this one, which does go to booking and doesn't work. That is true. Okay, does this one work? No, and that one goes to book. Okay. Well, this is terrible. All right, so this is an Elementor page. So I'm going to take this down, but we'll fix it just so everybody can see how I would fix it. So the first thing that we would want to do is go to the booking section on this page and make sure that it does indeed have an ID, and then confirm what the ID actually is, because it is apparently neither book nor booking. So let's take a look here. Is it this one? Yes. Okay, and what is the ID on this section? It is booking, but it has a hash in front of it, which would be the problem, I think. Okay, so it should just be the word booking without the hash. Okay, Elementor. Thank you for letting me know all these things. Okay, so now let's make these all, make sure that they go to booking. Okay, here's our first one, booking. So in this case, I do want the hash because this is a link. So I want to make sure that the hash is there. But when we're actually naming the ID on the element, we don't want that. Okay, booking. And then this one was already correct. And that's the last one. Okay, let's go ahead and publish that. And we'll take a look and make sure that that got fixed whenever it's finished. It should have also flushed the cache. So, but I'm logged in, so it should be okay. Oh, did I miss this one? What did that try to go to? Let's see. Oh, yeah, book. Okay. So I missed that one. Let's go back. This one. Booking. Okay. Publish. Okay. So, but the next one should work. Yes. Wonderful. Okay. And this one should work. Yes. And the one at the very bottom of the page. Let's just skip right down there. That one should work. Okay. And I think it refreshed. Yes. Okay. So all of those are fixed now. So let's go ahead and mark that as fixed. And even though there were multiple instances of that, I see only that one got flagged. So let's see what else we have waiting for us in the issue list here. Book. Okay, I see. It treated book and booking as two separate problems. So that's fair. That's fair. And it did flag both of those. So we'll mark those both as fixed, and resolve that issue. Okay. All right. Well, hey, we're making really good progress today. So that's exciting. Okay. So I am going to skip any issues that relate to color contrast. And let me explain why I'm going to do that. I talked about this a little bit last time, but I just want to say it again for anybody who missed last time. So we have currently 3 different accessibility testing engines that you can use inside of Aardvark. And you can now choose which one you want to use on each site. So it is in your site settings. You can pick which one you want to use. We have HTML Code Sniffer, we have Axe from DeQ, and we have IBM's Equal Access Accessibility Checker. So you can run any of those 3 checking engines on your website. If you use Axe or IBM, we have an AI-powered color contrast checker that will help to weed out false positives for color contrast. We do not have that tool available for the HTML code sniffer right now. So this particular site has been in Aardvark forever, since before we launched. So it's very old, and so it's been using the HTML code sniffer this whole time. So we'll go ahead and we'll clean up all of these issues, but I'm going to skip over color contrast issues, because once I finish with all of these code sniffer issues, then I'm going to skip over to using the IBM checker, and then we'll be able to run that tool to clean up all the false positives for the color contrast. So I don't want to spend time on those right now with the HTML code sniffer tester. I'm going to wait and resolve any that are left after the AI contrast checker runs through. Okay, so I'm going to just skip this one for right now, and we're going to leave it there. And the next thing that we have is an iframe element, requires a non-empty title attribute. So I have a feeling that if we have an iframe, it is something third party installed on our page, and it looks like Google Tag Manager, YouTube, something. And it's on 3 pages. It is on a guide, and a newsletter. That's random. I wonder if we might have YouTube videos still installed on these guides. And maybe in this newsletter. Let's go take a look. Maybe I missed replacing some of these. I'm going to close a few of these browser tabs. They're getting a little out of control. Okay, actually, I don't need this one at all. All right, let's go take a look at this dashboard overview guide. And let's see if we have any hints. Aha, no, that's Able Player. Okay. Tricked me. I saw the red play button and thought it was YouTube. Nope. Okay, let me just go one screen at a time here. So I don't see any, okay. So let's grab the selector there and see what we can find on the page. So I'll open that up, clear that out, and paste that in. And whatever it is not visible. Display none, visibility hidden. Height and width of 0. What is this? My goodness, what is this? Is it in the head section? I'm confused. Why are all these scripts here? Wow, okay. What in the world? What is this? Go back to that again. An iframe. I don't know. I'm not sure what this is or where it's coming from. It's a little concerning. What we have going on in here? Let's take a look. An iframe and an iframe. Oh, it's Google Tag Manager. But why is it only on 3 pages? That's suspicious. Okay. I'd have to dig into this one a little bit offline and see if I can figure out why it's only on 3 pages and why it's an iframe and an iframe. This seems a little upsetting. All right, I got a question about recommended settings are only WCAG 2.1. Why not 2.2? The answer to that is that the new success criteria that were added in 2.2, none of them can be tested with an automatic scanner. So there is no difference in automated scans between scanning for 2.1 and 2.2. If you record manual issues in Aardvark, you can record 2.2 issues. We have them all in there. But there's no automated tests for 2.2, unfortunately. So all of those new things that got added in 2.2, they all have to be checked manually. Okay, so we're going to skip over this one for now because there's something really weird happening there. Because Google Tag Manager should be on every page of the site, not just 3 of them. And also, there's something weird about it being an iframe inside an iframe. Like, there's just something odd going on there that I need to kind of pull apart. Oh, it says there's 5 instances, though. All right, well, I'll see what I can figure out about that later. Okay, and then we have more background, color contrast. So here we have the content looks like it is simulating an ordered list using plain text. That's an interesting problem. Let's take a look at what it is. Oh, we're doing a deployment right now, right while I'm in the middle of a live stream. Oh, no. Okay. All right. I guess I should have told my team a little more explicitly. I had a live stream and don't deploy code to the server right now. All right. Well, that'll probably take a couple of minutes. So, all right. Well, that's what happens when you do things live. All right. In the meantime, why don't we talk about manual testing for a second? So this is my local copy of the site, and I just synced it to the live site in case I needed to do any work on it. So I'll just get that updated. And let's go over to WCAG quick checks. I think, easy checks is what it's called. So if you haven't ever done any kind of manual accessibility testing, and come here to WCAG Easy Checks, this is a really great place to get started. So this will walk you through just a handful of tests that you can do on any page that'll help you to identify some issues that you can't that can't be found with automated checkers, right? So talking about this difference between scanning a page for WCAG 2.1 and 2.2. So for 2.2, there's even more things that have to be tested manually that an automated checker can't identify. So it's a pretty good skill to learn how to do these different kinds of accessibility checking. And there are 2 versions of this article, and it's stuck in kind of a weird state. So I'll warn you about that first. So you can see that the very first thing that we see here is letting us know that this version of this documentation is new, and that it's still a draft. So this new version isn't finalized yet. However, if you go over to the old version, like the one that is finalized, or no, I'm sorry. This is the draft. This is the new one. This is the old one. Okay, so this is letting us know there is a new version ready. So this is the old version. It's finalized, but it is old. It is super, super really old. Oh, here, let me, I'll put the link to this in the chat here. I think you'll have to let me know. Oh, I see that that went to YouTube, but maybe not LinkedIn. Let me put it in LinkedIn here. Okay. Did it work? Oh, maybe it doesn't let me post links to LinkedIn. I think you should be able to do just a search like I did for WCAG Easy Checks and identify it that way. If that link didn't just show up in the chat, let me try on LinkedIn one more time. Maybe I have to add some text to it. Now it kind of disappears as soon as I post it. Failed to post the comment. Great. Thank you, LinkedIn. Okay. Okay, so you should be able to do just a web search for WCAG Easy Checks, and it should come up. It's just w3.org/wai/test-evaluate/preliminary. All right. So this is the old version. It is super old, but it still works actually. Like it still works fine if you want to go through this old version. The new version is new and shiny, but of course is still in draft. So we're in limbo kind of between these two versions of the article. And honestly, it doesn't really super matter which one you use. They walk you through the same tests. They just use a slightly different tool for doing the evaluation. So the old article mostly relies on this browser plugin that's just called Web Developer that is available for all the browsers. It's available for Firefox and Chrome and Edge and everything. And it has some really nice tools in it for doing web development in general, but also for doing accessibility checking in particular. So the older version of this Easy Checks uses that tool. The new version of the Easy Checks uses a whole series of custom bookmarklets. So if you're not familiar with bookmarklets, a bookmarklet is just a little snippet of JavaScript that you can actually bookmark in your browser, just like you're bookmarking, any page that you'd like. And then when you click that bookmark, it actually runs that JavaScript. So you do want to be thoughtful about where you're getting your bookmarklets from because you need them to be from a trusted source because JavaScript has a lot of capabilities and you don't want to compromise this, any security. And especially if you're on a page with private information on it, you want to be thoughtful about when you're using those bookmarklets. They don't do anything until you click on them. So there's no problem with having them bookmarked in your browser. But you want to be thoughtful about where you're getting those from. Make sure that they're a trusted source. So the new version of the Easy Checks uses these bookmarklets. And you'll see that you can run the test right here. And then they have somewhere they have where you can save the bookmarklet. Or they used to. Maybe that's something they edited because I don't immediately see that obvious on the page. But that's the main difference kind of between the two. The new one does also have you check a few extra things, but they're not going to always be applicable. For example, like audio description is only going to be applicable if you have a video on the page, for example. Okay, I see a comment that says on a page that I'm testing, Axe found 0 issues, but Aardvark found 94. Yeah, so if you left the scanner at the default, which would be the IBM scanner, it does find a lot more issues than Axe. That scanner is significantly more thorough than the Axe checker. So if you're having trouble understanding what any of the issues are, by all means, feel free to reach out to our support team and we can help clarify those for you and help you understand them. And then that'll also help point me to where I might need to update the documentation. So we do have a lot of new issues in that IBM checker that I maybe haven't written specific instructions for. So for most of our issues, the instructions for how to fix them have been handwritten by me. And I might have some new ones that need better instructions. So please, if you're having any issues with them, reach out to our support team and we'll get that fixed for you right away. All right. Because I don't see the bookmarks on this version, I think we're going to go back to the old version that relies on the web development browser add-on, and we'll take a look. So first we have a page title. So it has you check your page title, which is shown in your browser bar. So if you don't know, if you just hover over your the tab in your browser, I cannot move my mouse to kind of move the pointer to where I want you to look. So it's right below where my mouse is right now. If I move the mouse down there, it will that little tooltip will disappear. So but you can see that on the tab itself, I can see, the first part of the page title. But I can't see the whole thing, right? It gets cut off. There's not enough room. But when you hover over it in most browsers, you can see the full title. So you don't need to click it or anything. You can just hover over it and you should be able to see the full title. Although this looks like it's still getting cut off, doesn't it? With a ... at the end. Let's see. Does that one have it? Oh, that one shows the whole thing, although that one's a lot shorter. I wonder if Chrome still cuts it off even when it gets too long. That's a little bit annoying because the only other way to really check it is either listen to a screen reader read it or to dig into the code. Okay, so the first thing that you'd want to check on the page is make sure that the title is unique to that page. So you don't want to have the same title across every page on your site. And that it describes what this particular page is about. So it should be similar to, but it doesn't necessarily be identical to whatever your H1 is for the page, right? So each page should have an H1 near the top that explains what the page is about. And the title should be related to that. It doesn't have to be the exact same text, but it should be similar, right? So that if somebody's looking at it, they would be able to see that those two things are kind of similar. And so that's what it tells you for each little instruction. It explains like what a page title is, kind of shows you can see a very old screenshot of Firefox here, and then tells you how to check it and what you're looking for. And then there is also tips. So some extra tips if you want them for exactly what would be a good thing or a bad thing that you're looking for. And then they have some additional information that's listed for each thing. The next one is checking the images have alt text. And the Web Developer Toolbar actually has something really nice for that. You can display all attributes. So if you click that, you can see like right away, it added this little alt next to this image. And I think there was some other, so there's some other images up here that has an empty alt. Right, everywhere that there's an image, it actually displays the alt, although all these all seem to have empty alt text, which is surprising. So just making sure that all of your images have alt text. Okay, so we have somebody with a question. Instructions should be meaningful without relying solely on shape, size, location, words. So likely there is some text in there that has words like to the left, to the right, a red button, the button next, the green button on the left. Like there's probably some kind of instruction like that, or there's some kind of words like that in there that it has detected in that paragraph. And so it's just having you to check and make sure that you're not saying something like, click the big green button to the left, because of course not all users can see color, not all users can see sizes, right? Not all users can see the button, period. And so you need to be thoughtful about when you're giving instruction on how things should be going, that that they're done in a way that anybody could understand and not just people who can see the page. And it's not perfect, and if it's probably flagged as needs manual review. And if you look at it and it's fine, then you can just mark it as not an issue. Okay, let's see if our platform is back up now. It should be. I get to play. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let me just step through these other manual testing things real quick. We won't look at them in detail at all. So it has you check headings to make sure your heading structure is all correct. And the web developer tool actually has, it's under information. It has, I always forget where it is, document outline. View document outline, it'll open a new tab that'll actually show you the outline of your document with all of your heading levels, which makes it really easy to check. And it identifies, like right here, that we have a missing H3 heading. So this is the Web Accessibility Initiative's own website, right? And we've already found like a few different accessibility issues on it. Nobody is perfect. All you can do is fix issues as you find them. And then, when content is getting edited and changed all the time, issues are going to get introduced again. And so you just have to stay on top of it and keep trying. All right, so the next issue is contrast ratio. So just checking to make sure that any text you have has sufficient contrast with the background, which helps anybody with low vision. It also helps if you're just trying to look at your screen outside on a sunny day. Or if your eyes are tired at the end of the day, how to check contrast, how to check resizing. So the old instructions, so this is the old instructions, they actually are incorrect because most browsers do not use text-only zoom anymore. So you can just use your regular browser zoom and just zoom it up to 200% like this, which I'm just doing on a Mac with Command and the plus sign. On a Windows, it's Control and the plus sign. You can do either Command or Control, depending on Mac or Windows, and the minus sign to zoom back out. And you can always do either Control 0 on Windows or Command 0 on a Mac to just set it back to the default. So don't feel like you're stuck with it once you've zoomed in. So I'm just holding down on a Mac, so I'm Command plus until it says 200%. And then you just take a look through your page to make sure that you don't have anything going off the page, that you don't have content that's overlapping, and that you don't have any problems where things are hidden or inaccessible or anything like that. Let's see, the next test is keyboard access, where all you do is tab through your page. So put your mouse over on the other side of the room, or just ignore the trackpad on your laptop and just try to use the website without using a mouse or a trackpad, and make sure that you can do it with just tab, shift tab, and arrow keys, enter key, space bar, right? Those should be enough to get you through and activate any buttons on the site, follow any links that are on the site, fill in any forms, make selections in form fields, all of those things. So just testing it with keyboard access and making sure that you can always tell where the focus is. Testing out any of your forms to make sure all of your form fields have labels, and things like radio buttons are in a field set with a legend. So that's another important thing. And then checking for moving, flashing, or blinking content. So do you have a video that plays automatically? Do you have some kind of animation that's blinking or moving all the time that users can't control, that they can't stop? Because if you do, that needs to be fixed. Users have to be able, like, preferably you have nothing that just auto plays. But if you do have something that auto plays, then you want to make sure that there is a way for users to very quickly turn that off and disable it, because it can induce seizures for some people, and it can make people feel very sick and nauseated. It can give them migraines. It can make them dizzy, right? It can cause physical harm to people. So you want to make sure that you don't have anything like that happening on your site. Okay, so now that we have Aardvark back up and running with, hey, some brand new code just got deployed. I'm not sure exactly what went live today, but maybe we'll run across something brand new. Okay, so we have this issue where it said that it looks like we're simulating an ordered list in plain text, which could be maybe we have hyphens typed in front of things, like a markdown type thing, or we have numbers typed. inside of headings where we're trying to say this thing should be in this particular order, and it looks like it called out the 3. And then here's number 4, I'm sure. Yes. And number 5. Okay. So I don't know that we need to keep going down this page. It looks like they're all the same thing, and it's like a 6-step process that we have on our site. So long text alternatives for visual content. So this is always one of those areas that I think is not always super clear, because I think when you have an ordered list or an unordered list, generally screen reader users do not prefer when you have complex layout inside of those lists, where you have like a heading and one or more paragraphs, for example, nested inside each LI. It makes it a little verbose and kind of annoying to try to navigate that. And so the preference would be that we would just have heading, paragraph, heading, paragraph, heading, paragraph. So we are saying, I see that there is a heading above this that says in 6 steps. But what I also see is that these are acting as headings, but they're paragraphs, which is another problem altogether. So those should probably actually be headings. And I think what I would do on this page is just do a heading with the number in the heading instead of actually doing an ordered list here. So we can pop over. I think we've got about 8 minutes left in the stream today. I'm going to pop over to this page here and we'll take a look at what's going on. I'm not even sure what this page is, to be honest with you. Because it doesn't have any of our design on it. I'm not sure why this was created, but anyway, we can still go in and clean it up, right? So here's our H1 on the page. So that would make this an H2, which to me would mean that these should be H3s. But it looked like they were paragraphs. So let's go ahead and edit this page and clean that up, and we'll make those each headings. I got another comment that says, after the last presentation, I identified a terrifying tab issue on one of my sites and fixed it. Yeah. I mean, we found that issue where I had that whole form that couldn't be controlled at all with the keyboard, which is, yeah, terrifying. That's terrible, right? And then you just think, like, how has that been there all this time? And I'm all about accessibility, and somehow I've missed that and completely didn't even realize that I had this problem on my site. And wow, okay, so this is not going to cooperate with me. Okay, so it looks like I need to put a line break in there, and then we have a paragraph. Okay, so let me do that right now. We'll put line breaks between all of these. It looks like we just had like a soft line break. I guess somebody was trying to get a certain look here. And honestly, these should be headings as well. So let's just clean this up. And I have to also figure out what the heck this page is. So that's something else. I'm not sure. Seems like reasonably helpful information. I don't mind it being part of our website. I'm just not sure why it is or what we're doing with it. So we'll figure that out separately, but we'll fix the accessibility issues on it anyway. So we'll make each of those an H3. At least that's easy to do in WordPress editor. I wonder if this was like an outline for something else maybe. And need help. And a heading and an H3. And then this should be an H2. And it just goes on. Okay, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me do all of these. I will clean them up later. Okay, but we got the main part of the page there done, I think. Part of the how to choose the right accessibility testing tool blog post. So it seems like it's somebody's notes for something that have been published publicly on our site. So maybe I'll take this page down. Doesn't seem like it should be live anyway, but this helps us find all kinds of issues. So let's go back to our list of issues and we'll take a look at one more. We've got 5 minutes left. And let's see, where was I? Okay, we were here on 99. So color contrast, which I'm going to skip. Color contrast. And then here we have accessible name for this element does not contain the visible label text. So we may have like an ARIA label being used or an ARIA labeled by or a title tag or something like that happening, or title attribute rather, sorry. So let's take a look at what this is. We have 36 active instances of this problem. Oh, okay. Because it is with our player, which we unfortunately, it's a third-party player that comes from the company that is hosting the podcast episodes. And not the first accessibility issue I've noticed with this player. Some of the other ones I was able to fix. So let's see. The short version of the problem was that forms are modals and you had to tab all the way through before getting into it. Oh my goodness. Yes, that's a lot of tabbing. I'm glad that you were able to fix it. That's not a very good one. So let me explain a little bit about this issue that's here. So we have a button that controls the playback speed. And we can see that that button says 1x on it. And presumably if I click that, it would say, 1.2 or 1.5 or 2x or something, right? It would change. It would cycle through a bunch of different speeds that you can play the podcast episode back at. And the issue that we have is that it has an ARIA label attached to it, right? So we had a developer who was trying to do something accessible. Because, of course, a button that says 1x, also not super accessible. Like, what the heck does that button do? If you just heard that button, 1x, I don't know, right? So they tried to add an ARIA label to make that button more accessible. But the problem that we have is that the ARIA label overrides the text inside, which the developer may not have realized, right? They may have thought that somebody using a screen reader would hear, sorry, my cat is meowing. They might have thought that somebody with a screen reader would hear both, that they would hear playback speed 1x. But that is not the case. When you use an ARIA label, it completely overrides whatever text is inside the button. So we're only hearing that ARIA label. And so now somebody using a screen reader who's trying to play back a podcast, right, isn't going to be able to tell what speed is currently selected, basically. So I think probably the easiest solution to this problem would be to add an ID to the button itself. And then to reference that ID in the ARIA, or with the ARIA labeled by, so that now it would have both things acting as a label. So the actual text inside the button would still be considered a label, and the playback speed, so that somebody using a screen reader would hear playback speed 1x, playback speed 1.5x, playback speed 2x, etc. So that we would have both labels read out for a screen reader user. So this might be a little bit of a tricky one to try to fix with a third party, but I will take a stab at it next week when I come in here and fix a few more accessibility issues, not on a live stream. So I'll take a look at that and I'll report back on next time, just like I did today, where I kind of talked about some of the stuff that we had run across last time that I was able to fix and the outcome of those different things. So I'll report back on what I was able to do last time. And of course, I will file a support ticket with the company that provides this player to let them know that they have an accessibility issue with their player. Because of course the easiest thing would be for them to fix it themselves instead of me trying to hack some kind of accessible solution for it on my own site, right? The ideal would be that they would fix it and then that would fix it for everybody using their player instead of just fixing it on my site. So I will file a ticket with them, which, hey, that had a good outcome last time. So maybe we'll get lucky twice in a row and they'll be willing to fix that issue because it should be pretty straightforward for them to do. So that's what I'll give a try to that. And in the meantime, I'll see if I can't find some kind of solution that I can implement. Maybe by hacking the plugin file, but I don't like doing that because then I can't do updates or, some kind of filter or something maybe that I can use to override the markup that they're using. All right, so that brings us to the end of the hour. Thanks for sticking with me through the adventures of deploying fresh code to production. So I will make sure if we're using Aardvark next time that I do let the team know not to deploy code while I'm in the middle of doing a live stream. Hey, but we got a quick overview of doing some manual testing. So, and why we can't do automated testing specifically for WCAG 2.2. And we got to cover some other things. So thanks so much for joining me today. So 2 weeks from today, we'll meet back here, and maybe I'll go ahead and do the full hour on some manual testing and kind of show everybody a quick introduction to how to test things themselves and find issues on their site that they can then fix. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you're in the US, and I will see you next time.